My sister asked sarcastically where my husband was and why I didn't have children. Everyone laughed. I took a sip of water. Then I placed a truth on the table, after which no one laughed and no one had the courage to ask again. That question didn't come out of nowhere. It had been floating in the air for years, just waiting for a voice. My sister smiled and said, "So where is your husband anyway? And kids? By now there should have been some good news, right?" Laughter spread through the room like it was nothing serious, like someone had made a comment about the weather. I lifted my glass, took a small sip of water and kept my eyes fixed on the table. Something cracked inside me but no sound came out. We were gathered at my mother's house in the suburbs of Chicago. The same old living room, the same couch with cushions that had long since lost their shape, the same wall covered in family photos. In every picture someone was smiling. I was there too, always near the edge of the frame. I didn't try to join the laughter. I had learned over many years that staying quiet was easier. For me, the subject of husbands and children was never a joke. It was tangled up with debt, medical bills, an empty apartment, and nights that felt too long and too quiet. I had gotten married 5 years earlier. We were ordinary people with ordinary paychecks and ordinary dreams. Then he lost his job. Then his health declined. Then he lost himself. One day he simply packed up and left, leaving behind a note that explained nothing. I never told anyone that afterward I switched between 3 jobs, gave up 1 apartment, and spent many nights sitting on the bathroom floor, crying quietly so the neighbors wouldn't hear. My sister's laughter carried the same old confidence it always had. She had gotten everything on time: husband, kids, a big house. I brought gifts for her children, smiled and said things like, "They've grown so much." No one asked how I was doing. That day though, something had shifted. Maybe I was exhausted. Maybe the weight I had been carrying had finally become too heavy. I placed my glass on the table. The sound was soft but the room went still. I lifted my head. Everyone was looking at me like they were seeing me for the first time. I said, "You want to know where my husband is?" My voice didn't shake and that surprised me. "He left the day the doctor said having children might be difficult." No one spoke. I took a breath. "He left the day I thought I wouldn't be alone anymore." My mother started to say something then stopped. My father looked away. My sister's smile froze in place. I continued, "And children? 4 years I held myself together, paid bills, covered rent, and every month decided whether to see a doctor or pay the electric bill." My voice stayed steady. "That question might be a joke to you. It never was to me." The laughter didn't come back. No jokes, no quick attempts to change the subject. That was the moment everyone realized some questions shouldn't be asked casually. I didn't shout. I didn't humiliate anyone. I just laid the truth down like setting something heavy on the table. I didn't leave right away. I stayed seated, my heart pounding. My sister said softly, "I didn't know." I replied, "That was the problem." Revenge wasn't in yelling. It was in no longer hiding myself. That night when I got home I opened the window. Snow was falling outside, quiet and steady. I promised myself I wouldn't shrink anymore just to keep others comfortable. The next week I made an appointment at a low-cost clinic. The nurse held my hand and said, "We'll take it one step at a time." It wasn't a miracle but it was support. I called an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years. She said, "Let's get coffee." We sat in a small cafe. We didn't laugh much, we just talked. She told me about a freelance opportunity. It wasn't big but it gave me something solid under my feet. My sister called again later. This time there was no question in her voice. She said, "If you ever need help watching the kids or just want to talk." Her sentence trailed off but the intention was clear. I said, "Thank you." My life didn't suddenly become perfect. I'm still alone. Children are still just a dream. But I'm no longer the woman who swallows everything with a sip of water. I learned that silence can turn into poison and truth, no matter how hard, brings light. After that day no one asked me that question again. And if they ever do, I know the answer belongs to me. I made space for myself, slowly but firmly. That was my small American miracle. In the weeks that followed I noticed subtle changes. Not dramatic apologies or grand gestures, but a shift in how I was treated. Conversations slowed when I spoke. Jokes were measured. There was an awareness that I carried a history no one had bothered to learn before. It didn't erase the past but it softened the present. I also began to see how much of my life had been shaped by endurance. I had mistaken survival for strength and silence for dignity. Speaking that day didn't make me bitter. It made me lighter. I stopped rehearsing polite answers in my head. I stopped feeling like I owed anyone an explanation for timelines that had never been mine to control. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that moment at the table. The laughter, the glass of water, the pause before I spoke. I realize now that it wasn't just a response. It was a boundary. It was the first time I chose honesty over comfort. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe love will return. Maybe children will remain a wish. But I know this much. I won't disappear at my own expense again. I won't let my life be reduced to a punchline. I stood up without raising my voice, and that was enough. That truth changed the room. More importantly, it changed me. If this story touched you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more real, honest stories to life. Share it with someone who's quietly working on themselves. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for valuing strength that grows in silence.